My name is Eric Van Horn. I bought my first franchise in my 20s, and since then, I've owned 6 brands with 25 stores in 8 states. I've also helped 1,000 people find the right franchise for them. People like us who are not cut out for the 9-to-5 and like to work smarter, not harder. How do we find the right franchise, buy it, grow it, sell it, and how do we do it in a way to own the business without it owning us? Those are the questions, and I'm on a mission to give you the answers. Welcome to Franchise Secrets.
Hey listeners, if you like this podcast and you want more content on all things franchising, then you'll love our free Facebook group. It's the largest and most helpful Facebook group in all of franchising. Join our free community of current franchisees and franchisors, plus future franchisees and franchisors at franchisesecrets.com/Facebook.
Welcome to the Franchise Secrets podcast. Eric Van Horn here by myself today, and I'm going to be talking about partnerships. This was part of my presentation that I did to the Franchise Tribe Mastermind, the Scale Mastermind, about a week ago on a Friday. And I thought I would bring in some of the things that I talked about and bring that in here for discussion for the podcast. When I think about partnerships, I kind of classify them into, at least my experience, into 3 main categories, types of partnerships. And then there's any combination of these 3 types of partnerships. But before I get into that, wanted to just say, this is my experience. Everything that I'm talking about is either my experience with different partnerships or experience that I have with other partners who've had experience with different partnerships. Because whenever you get into a partnership or in a partnership, you tend to talk about things that have happened in other partnerships. So I've learned from actually doing it with 18 different partners. So I've had 18 different business partners over the last almost 20 years, about 20 years in business, and multiple types of partners, multiple types of partnerships. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of the types of partnerships. There's just the standard partnership that most people probably think of, and that's when a partner, several partners go into the same business and they put in similar amount of money, similar amount of time and effort. They have a similar skill set. So in this most basic partnership, everything is pretty equal here. And I've had a number of those partnerships, and there's advantages and disadvantages to this type of partnership. And I dove into that in the mastermind. But the other type of partnership is equity and an equity and operating partnership. So this is where the equity partner puts in money and the other partners earn money into it, or there is some type of equity split, whether they earn equity, there's a loan given, there's multiple ways for that operating partner to be able to become a full partner in that business or to get paid while they're running that business or helping that business go. And so I've done this several times, a handful of occasions as well. One of the key things for both the equity partner and the operating partner to know in something like this, you don't want, actually, I didn't want just money. When I was more of that equity partner, I didn't want a doctor to give me money to be a 50% partner. I don't think people that I partner with that are my operating partners, they don't want a doctor to give them money to start the partnership. Sometimes that works and that's okay, but I like that equity partner. I like being the equity partner that not only puts in money, but it's considered smart money or valuable money. It comes with experience. It comes with leadership. It comes with connections and a network. It comes with things that can help. when I think about investing as well, investing into companies, I like to invest in companies where I can actually help them out in different ways as well. And whenever, if I'm at the point where I want to bring investors into a brand that I'm a part of, or something into something where I need an investment, I don't want just money. I want smart money. I want helpful money. So just something to think about in that equity partnership and operating partnership. Again, the operating partner can earn equity in. Sometimes that's certain milestones that are met. Sometimes it's the amount of time worked, and it's tied to a lot of different things, or it can just be a loan that is given to the business and the loan's paid back at an accelerated amount. So the third type of partnership are equity partners. So there's equity partners, people with the money, with the smart money, and they want to hire an operating partner, maybe give them some actual equity, but it's a smaller piece of equity, but they go into it with the idea that they're not going to be working in the business, they're going to be working on the business, and they either hire a operating partner with that owner mindset and maybe a piece of actual equity. And I've done this as well a handful of times. So there's a lot, like I said, a lot of different ways. Pay a high salary, or you can give some equity and a salary, or you can hire them and then partner with that operating partner, give them equity. They earn equity and a salary. Give equity or earn equity and a salary. Or you have a partner that doesn't have the money and they want to be that operating partner, and they are making a much higher wage and a smaller piece of equity, but that's they've been identified from the beginning. So that is equity partners who hire an operating partner or give them a small piece of equity. And again, I've done this a handful of times. And by the way, all three of these partnership structures have worked out well for me, and I've had challenges in them as well. And then I've had different combinations, or there's, it's not just a hard, fast rule. Here's the standard operating partner, equity and operating, or equity and hiring. There's gray in between all of that. So there's really can be a combination of any of those, but those are the types of partnerships that I've experienced. I'm going to go into this is just a broad overview, but it'll be enough to get you to start to think about the different types of partners. Because a lot of times whenever I'm consulting a franchisor, a brand that is dealing with franchisees that are wanting to come in as partners, or there are franchisees that are in the mastermind, they're asking me about partnerships a lot. Usually they are talking about that standard operating partnership, and it goes way beyond that. Also, the other thing that goes into this is the types of partners. And I've classified them into 4 or 5 different categories. Number one, family. You partner with family. And there's, again, advantages and disadvantages. All of these, I won't get into that now. I went into depth with that within the mastermind a while ago. But I've done this with my parents early on. And one of the advantages is we had deep trust and knew each other's strengths and weaknesses. And, looking back, that was probably one of the greatest strengths. There's also weaknesses. There's things to consider when you're partnering with family. But for me, it worked out fantastic. The other type of partnership is good friends and successful business people. Really close friends and successful business people. And by the way, family, for me, they had a track record of success in business. So number 2 is good friends and successful business people. This has probably been the best source of partners for me. Again, because we know each other, and not just know each other, we know each other's strengths and weaknesses, character and flaws, and the things that we've learned along the way in business and just about ourselves. So we are, another way to say it, just more whole as we are business partners, we've seen each other grow up in business, and just how we are with our family, how we are with our spouses, how we are with our children. So good friends, successful business people has been a fantastic thing for me. Again, there's things to consider. There's disadvantages. Each one of these has unique things within the operating agreement that you want to consider. Each one of these different partnership styles and partnership types, like the types of partners, have unique things that you want to work into that operating agreement. Another category number 3, are friends and successful business people. So they may not be good friends, but they are friends that you've known for a while. The thing that I like about friends, you know them outside of thinking about being in business with them. And that's been a good source of partnerships as well. Here's one disadvantage. I'm trying to give you a little bit of some of the advantages, disadvantages, or what to refer to in the operating agreement, because again, I went into depth in the mastermind on this. But a disadvantage to really this one and other partnerships is, if you don't know them really well, you don't know how they behave or act or make decisions under stress. And if you've ever been in a partnership, if you've ever started a business, that will be tested, because there's times when stress comes in. And if they've never had to make decisions under the stress of being a business owner, or stress of lack of capital, or maybe there's too much capital, there's all kinds of things that too much capital usually doesn't cause stress, but it does other things. But the point of that is, people have strengths, but strengths under stress tends to have different behavior come out in different types of people. All of us do that. This is nothing new, but it's something that you need to think about in a partnership. How do they react under stress?
If you want to go deeper as a franchisee, then check out the Franchise Tribe Mastermind. It's a tribe of franchisees across many different brands, sectors, and industries, with many things in common besides just franchising. Things like being growth-minded and having a lifestyle focus, remembering why you got into business in the first place, learning from others' mistakes versus just making a bunch of your own mistakes, or helping people avoid the mistakes that you've made. A desire to shortcut the path to success. In other words, franchisees who want to be around like-minded, solution-oriented A players. Check out franchisesecrets.com/mastermind.
And another category is just number 4 are successful business people. They're probably not friends. They're definitely not good friends. They're probably not friends yet, but they are successful business people. They've had a success in their business, entrepreneurial history, background. And again, I've had success having partnerships with people that I didn't really know very well, but they were successful business people. And so that is one that I really like. And you see the common denominator is obviously success in business. But I think the more that you know somebody or can get to know them quickly, and not just look for all the things that align, but go listen to some of the books on hiring. That's probably the best thing that you can do, because think about this as you are hiring someone that you cannot fire, and they're going to be running the business with you. So if you want to talk to a possible partner, treat it like an interview. No, don't interview them, but ask them questions that will make them think, to be able to get about themselves and help you understand how they behave under pressure. Take some different personality profiles. We had some really good ones that were suggested that people have done inside the mastermind beyond just the normal, Myers-Briggs or whatever it is. But just be thinking about the time when the partnership will be tested or decisions will have to be made and pressure happens. That is, doesn't matter if they've been successful in business. Why have they been successful? What do their past employees think of them? What do their past business partners or people that have been around them think of them? So again, I've had a lot of success with successful business people, had more success, good friends, successful business people. And then finally, friends that are operational hustlers. And this one is, so you know them, you know what their strengths are, you know what their weaknesses are. And this could be any types. It could be family, it could be good friends or successful business people, but they are that operational hustler. I think one of the things here, one of the things that help this is pay them for their time that they're putting in, or some type of salary. And again, it goes back to that promissory note that you can give to the business, and maybe they have a piece of it, a piece of that note. That way they have skin in the game. So I think it's important to have some skin in the game. Doesn't matter how much. If it's significant to them and it's significant to you, then that's a good thing. But I like friends that are operational hustlers, and I can think of some times that I've done this that have been very productive and good for the business. And at the end of the day, too, us as business owners that have that operational hustler friend, we want, you have to be careful, because sometimes you want it more for them than they want it for themselves. So that would be one of the cautions that I would give you. Don't look at it through the lens of what you want for them. You want it for them. That's a lot of the reasons why a lot of us do that. But you can't create, that urgency, that desire, that go-getter type attitude if they don't really have it. So those are some things to consider. Again, types of partnerships. There's really 3 types of partnerships that I've been a part of: that standard operating partnership, the equity and operating partnership, and the equity partner who hires the operational partner. And then the different types of partners: family, good friends, the common denominator, successful business people. And then again, any combination of those with that operational hustler. Now, with all that said, the devil's in the details with all of this stuff. So you will really want to dive into the operating agreement, and I'll give a little bit of feedback on operating agreement in general. Right now, I'm going to give you kind of an overview of just what I've seen as advantages and disadvantages in different partnerships. And whether you're in a partnership right now, or you might be in one in the future, it's probably going to change for you at different times. There's probably going to be the time when you were the operating partner, and then you shift into the equity partner. And I'll say this: operating partners are hard to find. That operational partner that may not have the money, but they have more time and energy and desire and heart to be able to give to the business, they're hard to find. So if you are that person, know that you are a unique person, that the right equity partner would love to partner with you. So again, these are just my experiences. And, partnerships have been great for me, 18 different partnerships over the years. And I think, just real quick, I want to give one little nugget on the operating agreement that I'm going to go into some other things. But when you're looking at the operating agreement, what I like to do is look at the business entity as the thing that I'm advising. So I don't look at it like I am the partner in this, just from my perspective. But what if I was a paid advisor, where I was there to give advice? In other words, look objectively versus just the lens that I have with my circumstance within the partnership. That is an important thing. So if you find partners that want to look at the business as a living thing, and the partners are advising that business versus just looking out for their own best interests, then you're probably dealing with some pretty good partners right there. Also, if you were in a partnership, there's things that did not work out in that partnership. Sometimes people swing the other way. they want so much less of what was in that other partnership. They're really not looking objectively because they're looking at the pain of the last business versus objectively at the current business. So just be aware of that. That's just something just to be aware of. But I love looking at businesses when I'm in a partnership as a separate entity. I'm that advisor. I'm trying to make good decisions for the company, not just how I can help, line my own pocketbook faster and do less work and things like that. All right, I'm going to get into advantages and disadvantages in partnerships. Advantages. Everyone has a job to do. If you I love partnerships because you have a job, my partners have a job, and we're not duplicating the same job. So you can get more done because there's greater focus. I love that. Two minds are better than one. Think about it. You have two brain trusts looking at this partnership versus just you. So I really like that. Less financial risk. In a way, there's a asterisk here, and I'll get into that in the disadvantages, but typically it's less financial risk because there are two people that are any personal guarantees. There's two people that are funding the business. So the business costs $200,000 and it's just an equal partnership, and they're both partners are putting $100,000. It's obviously less financial risk of cash out of pocket. Two people working less hours. So maybe you have a job and your partner has a job, or one partner is an entrepreneur, has flexibility, and you have a more a rigid schedule, but you guys can work around that. So sometimes an advantage is just actually being able to do the business versus not doing the business because you don't have 40 hours to give. Quicker diversification into other businesses. This was one that, for me, that was absolutely true. I was able to diversify into other businesses faster because of that. And I went into detail on how I did that, why I did that inside that mastermind talk that I did. But just know you can diversify quicker into other businesses or expand into your current franchise or current business. You can grow faster through partnerships. And again, the mastermind, I went into more detail on this because one of my best franchise plays ever was utilizing this partnership strategy. And then you just have a sounding board. We all should have a sounding board, but when you have a partnership, like they are in it. And you can call them late at night, early in the morning, and just talk. And I've heard multiple stories in the past few months of partners doing this. And this is one of the advantages that I see in it. Like, you are in it. And then you know your partner. You know if your partner just needs to talk through things, or they have ideas that come in the middle of the night. They just need to talk through it, or they just need to be left alone, and they can, so there's so many things that again, it's you knowing your partner, but there's a sounding board that we have with our partners. And another thing is you just divide and conquer. Every partner has a thing that they just focus on versus being the jack of all trades. And there's something to be said about focus. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing forever, but just being able to divide and conquer is a big advantage. And here's one that most people don't think about. There's greater financial strength for landlords. Landlords will look at the whole versus just you. In one of my businesses, this was an absolute advantage, and I didn't realize how big of an advantage it was because we were expanding so rapidly. And it was we got a bank loan for 2 deals versus just one deal with a brand that I was a part of because of the financial strength of multiple partners. Partnerships are easy to get into.
If you want to go deeper as a franchisor, I offer private coaching. It's for entrepreneurs who are about to franchise their business, or emerging brands who are dealing with growth, or experienced franchisors who are looking for a fresh perspective. Check out franchisesecrets.com/coaching.
Again, that's also a disadvantage, just, easy to get into, they're hard to get out of. One of the kind of softer things that I see as an advantage in the partnership is they help you see blind spots if you're open to it. So as a partner, I know that I'm not perfect, and my partners are going to point things out about my imperfections because it may not be helping the business. And I get to do that with my partners. We all have blind spots at different times. And are you open to seeing your blind spots? And are your partners open to revealing blind spots, their blind spots? So that's a big deal. And this has happened a number of different times for me where my blind spots were revealed to me through a partner in a very nice, kind way, but in a way that I was aware of it. So the other thing, the collective experience, past experience and current and future experience. So experience as a franchisee or business owner, entrepreneur, or even in their other past life as a corporate America person, we all have these experiences, and they all kind of come together, and we can learn from them, whether it's hiring or firing or sales or all kinds of different things. I've learned from all of my partners, every partner, all 18 of them that I've had, their past experience proved invaluable at different times. Finally, one of the advantages, and I'm laughing because I can see in my mind the times that this one played out. One partner may be more level-headed at different times to make a decision or talk with other parties. And this absolutely happened multiple times in multiple partnerships. Sometimes I was the level-headed one. I got the, hey, Eric, why don't you talk to them about this thing? Because you're more level-headed, or you're not so emotional as I am. Sometimes I made the call. I tapped my buddies on the shoulder and I said, hey, would you make this phone call? Would you engage in this negotiation? Would you talk to this other person? Would you deal with this employee thing? Because I'm not level-headed. I'm too emotional. I'm not in the right frame of mind to be able to accomplish what needed to be accomplished. And so again, it's something that you don't think about, but a lot of times different partners have a different ability to speak to intense situations or important situations better than the other one. All right. Here are some disadvantages to partnerships. Opportunity for conflict. This will happen. There's always opportunity for conflict and disagreement, because we all have our own way of doing things. The things that, if you're married, you obviously know that there's opportunity for conflict and disagreements. But in a partnership, if people haven't been in a partnership before, they may not know how to react or behave or to engage. And if they enjoy conflict, or if they don't enjoy conflict, I've had both types of partners that enjoyed conflict and partners that didn't want to have any conflict. And neither are right or wrong. You just have to know what you're getting into. That way, you know how to deal with it. And if they just would rather just ignore versus deal with conflict, you're going to have to just, deal with that a different way versus the partner that really does not mind conflict at all. Here's one of the other disadvantages that some people don't think about until it's too late or an event happens. That is, one partner may be liable for 2 or 3 or 10 partners if the other partner or partner defaults. So if they don't meet their obligations, they had a bankruptcy, somebody passes away, somebody gets a divorce, something happens that they are not able to meet their obligations, then you as the other partner are now liable for that. And there's ways to work around that and to make it fair within the operating agreement. And again, I got into that in the mastermind, but there are ways to craft that operating agreement. That's why operating agreements are so important. Here's another disadvantage. It's not just you calling the shots. You have a partner to consider. It's not just how this impacts you. Maybe it's your time. Maybe it's your money. Maybe it's other resources. Maybe it's focus. Whatever it is, it's not just you calling the shots. You don't get to be the only decision maker. And that might be something that is a challenge for you, especially if the shots that you would call don't get called and they go a different way because of the way the operating agreement is structured. Another disadvantage is different goals as the business grows. Everyone has the same goals in the beginning. They want to make a lot of money. Maybe they want to work a lot. Maybe they don't want to work a lot. Maybe they want to work a lot and then not work a lot. There's all kinds of different ways. But one of the things that I've seen is as the business grows, as the business evolves, is a better way to say it, as the business evolves, different partners tend to have different goals. Some want to continue to grow. When do you stop growing? When do you maintain? Because sometimes in business, the more that you're growing, the less money that you're able to make because it costs a lot of money to keep growing. Even though the business is growing and healthy, you are not making the kind of money. So when do you stop growing and start to enjoy the fruits of your labor? When do you sell? And when do you just keep the business status quo humming along really well, producing great cash flow? And what's interesting, 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, the partnership goals usually change. And you just have to know that. So everyone has different goals. That can definitely be a challenge. And you have different goals as the business grows. So here's another big one. Workload's not always equal. And if the partners don't have a mutual respect or trust, it's going to get tricky. In my experience, at different times, different partners have pulled their weight differently. Maybe sometimes it was in the beginning of the partnership. Maybe sometimes it was in the middle, or, 1 month, one partner was doing a lot. The next month, another one was. I've experienced this. I've been on both sides of it where I was doing a lot of the work and the other ones were not doing hardly any of the work, and vice versa. So the workload, as much as you want it to be always equal, especially once you start to get into the equity partnerships and the operating partnerships, that's when things change. Even if you hire an operational manager, that last one, equity partners who hire that operational partner, operational manager, who's going to manage that person? And if you're all going to manage that person, how does that work? And who does that person report to? So just things to think through. Again, the mastermind, we get to talk about a lot of this stuff. But I want to give you just kind of a broad overview today. So the important thing there is if you don't have a mutual trust and respect for each other, it gets real tricky. So there's value that different partners can bring at different times, different seasons, different ebbs and flow of the business. Here's another one. Tax strategy. We all have our personal tax strategy, personal tax returns, income coming in different ways, what we want to do with that income, how we mitigate taxes to pay less in taxes. Maybe somebody wants to pay their kids as much money as they can to put into a college fund. Maybe others are just saving to to buy a house or build a house. Everyone's got a different tax strategy. And your business has one strategy, and that strategy is for that business entity. So sometimes that works really well with your personal tax strategy, and sometimes it doesn't. So usually what happens is it is best for both for the business, and both parties or 3 parties or 10 parties in the partnership have to be okay with that. And I'm in multiple different partnerships now, and some of them are just pure investment properties, retail investment, and every one of the partners has different tax strategies. But we had to do what was best for the business, and the chips fall where they fall for the different tax strategies for us as individual investors into these different real estate deals. So it's hard to find great partners. That's a disadvantage. It's really hard to find the great ones out there. And again, this is probably one of the things I just really want to emphasize again. Stress and money bring out the worst in people. It's probably brought out the worst in you at times and brought out the worst in me at times. But the more centered that you get, the more stable that you are, the less that you let money impact the decisions that you make, the less that you're chasing after money, the less stress you have in your life. And then that really it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Stress brings out the worst in people. Money does the same thing. So if you've just been around it, maybe you've had a lot or haven't had a lot, what does that do to you? And doesn't matter if you've had a lot or don't have a lot. You just need to know like what that is going to do to you as a business partner to your partners, and what is that going to bring out in your business partnership with your other partners. So finally, I will leave you with this one. Everyone seems to have, and I'm going to talk just a couple things about the operating agreement. Everyone has a different type of management style. And we went into this again in the mastermind, but just know that like your style is probably not going to be like your partner style. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to work with them. And it's not your way or the highway, or your way is the best way. You have to be able to work with them. So just some quick takeaways on the operating agreement. When you're forming the operating agreement, that is when everybody is the most objective. It goes downhill from there. So again, put yourself on both sides of the equation when you're doing the operating agreement, because that's going to help you think and really put yourself on both sides of the equation. What if I was the one that wanted to sell? What if I was the one that wanted to expand? How would I want this to play out? So again, putting yourself in that advisory position, but feel the emotion of that. What if all of your partners said, no, I want to sell, and you were the only one that said, no, I don't want to sell? What does that look like? Or I would really want to sell, but all my partners won't. Or what if there's a deadlock in that? How does that get decided? Because selling's a big deal. Talk about the hard things. Frame it in a way that it's personal to you and you can see it and you can feel it. And how would you advise a partner if X happened or Y happened or Z happened? What would you do? How would you do it? And does the operating agreement spell it out that way? Another thing in the operating agreement, just to consider, as much as you try to do the right thing, sometimes it's hard to know what these future scenarios are and what the context is for them. So there's so many different things that play out that seem to be unexpected. But you need to know that even though you try to do the right thing, you don't always get it right. And we went into some really good ways to kind of help protect that or bring that out so people remember conversations. But I don't have time to get into that today, but there's different ways to help people remember these conversations that you had early on. And the mastermind got an earful of that because I think it's so important. But just know that you want people to remember why you made the decisions that you did. That way in the operating agreement, if it comes out, that way you can all be on the same page. A couple of quick takeaways. Just question to ask yourself is, why do I need a partnership in the first place? Why do I need a partnership? It goes back into what we were talking about earlier. Like, do you need them because you need the money? You need the operating person. You don't have the time. What is it? And what kind of synergies do you have with that partner? And what happens if you do it without them? Make a commitment to open communication. Speak up about the things about all things before that operating agreement is signed, and just, be super, super clear with your partner on on all expectations anyway in the business. There's so many things. Like we just covered the very beginning of partnerships. Under each of these things, under each of the 3 types of partnerships that I gave you, I went through in detail on that particular thing in the mastermind. And the types of partners, I went through in detail on each of those 5. So I gave you I did that with the mastermind in great detail. And I might put out a course or something on that, because as I was doing this, I realized, owning a lot of different franchises, a franchisee, franchisor, area developer, helping a lot of franchisors grow, consulting them in franchise development. And then just owning a lot myself. I've been involved in so many different partnerships, like 18 different partners. I'd never added them up before I started to talk to the mastermind about this type of thing. I also realized how important it is for franchisors to bring in franchisees, if it's a partnership, that they have a good idea of what that partnership is like. And I remember doing that as an area developer. And I remember doing that in franchise development when I helped brands set up their franchise development program. But I think that's one of the things that franchisors, especially young franchisors now, kind of need to look at a little bit more. If someone is coming in a partnership, that can be a very great synergistic partner. So as a franchisor, you should dig into that a little bit more. And that might turn into a disastrous partnership. So there's some things that you can offer to understand what they may not even see in their own partnership. That's probably something to bring in even into the franchise development process. And there's different ways to do that are very helpful. But I think at the end of the day, franchisees want to be a part of a really good brand. The best franchisors want to attract the best franchisees for their particular brand. I've seen way too often where franchisors want franchisees. And I see it very few and far between where franchisors want the right